Alright, this will probably get messy, hopefully not, because obviously I'm dealing with super glue. So you want to make sure you have gloves, that you have a well protected area. This is my desk and I love it dearly, so I'm going to protect it with a garbage bag. I took a large garbage bag and I cut it right down the middle, or like, I cut it so I could open it out, and now I'm going to be using it to protect my desk. And normally I like saving these bands, but because I don't want to risk losing any more hair by like dragging this band out of the bundle, I'm gonna cut it off. As I spread it out, I'm like lifting and separating. I don't want to drag it anymore, so I'm lifting and separating. Once again, you lift, separate. I want to help it. I want to help it separate. Alright, so you know how one side of the weft is more inside the weft and the other one's outside the exterior? Well, I decided that inside the weft, I'm going to use super glue because it seems like that is where it is attached to each other. Versus outside of the weft, I will only use fray-block. And if I decide to, if I have the time, I will go back in on the outside of the weft and use super glue after. So here is a close-up so you can kind of see what I mean. Alright, I'm going to fray block first the outside. So I twisted it this way. And don't be afraid of it being this color because, as the bottle says, it does dry crystal clear. Knowing that I have to wait 2 to 5 hours for this to dry is very frustrating. And I won't be able to wash it for another 3 days too on top of that. So this is really time consuming and annoying. I wish companies would do this before they sell it to us. I don't understand why they can't do this job and we have to do it. Doesn't make sense, but pretty much I'm going to wait 2 hours, the bare minimum, knowing that I'm going to go back in with super glue. It's been about half an hour, and this is the last part of the weft that I did. You can see it's still blue. But other areas, it is now clear. But as I travel upwards towards the beginning part of where I actually recorded, like the beginning part of the weft, the other end, you can see it's very clear here. Alright, so it's been about 45 minutes now, and I am touching it, and it seems dry, like to the touch, even though I know it takes like 2 to 5 hours for it to completely dry. But right now it's clear for the most part. I mean, there's some areas that look a little bit blue, but it's pretty dry. It's dry enough for me to flip it over and do what I have to do, which is to add the glue to the other side, which I'll do right now. And that is the fray block. I'm going to flip it over now, carefully, by lifting it. And I made sure that it won't stick to the plastic. I had one little area down there where it stuck to the plastic as I glued it, but I gently pulled it off. But it's dry enough for me to keep moving along and working with it. And just make sure that when you're using this glue, that you're using in a well-ventilated area. And what I like about this glue too, specifically, is that it has that long spout that they mention here, that long neck, which will definitely help avoid any type of mishaps. And just remember that I'm going on the inside of the weft now. I'm carefully running it along right in the middle to avoid it getting to the plastic. But you know what? The great thing about it is that if I do glue the plastic onto the weft, it's a black plastic, so it won't stand out much in my hair when I install it. Ooh, it does smell. And I like that I can like control how much I'm applying with that spout and that small like hole. Because they do have some where you can brush on, but I don't trust that. This is the side that has super glue and the other side has fray-block. So I'm just going to continue the routine of taking the hair, flipping it over, and adding that on. Don't forget to get the sides really well, like the edge of the weft. Alright, that is the only section that got stuck to the garbage bag when I did the fray block. And as of right now, I'm near the end of my weft, and I haven't done anything bad with the super glue, so I have not glued it to the bag or my gloves or anything of the like. But I did want to share that right after I'm done with the super glue, I wait a few seconds and I flip it over so that I want it to spend the rest of the time drying on, right side up. That way it can prevent it from like gluing to the garbage bag. Because with enough pressure, it could get stuck to the garbage bag. But if you're light enough, it's fine. So yeah, don't forget to flip it over. And I'm going to make sure that I wash this right before I install it. If it wasn't for the fray block, I'd wash it right away, like later on in a few hours. But because the fray block says that you can't wash it for 72 hours for 3 days, then I'm going to have to wait. Alright, so I'm pretty much done. I'm waiting for it to dry. But I wanted to briefly mention the differences that I've noticed between the fray block and super glue. But pretty much super glue makes the wefts really hard to the touch. So I don't know how it's going to be in terms of bending the weft, so when I have to install it, but I will be installing it onto a wig cap. I'll be making a U-part wig.